we please put our hands together for Tom Blackman and the practical applications of muscle gain from an old dog who's learned some new tricks.
Thank you very much. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Tom Blackman. I'm the founder of BKM Nutrition, which is a nutrition consulting company. I'm a performance nutritionist, and I specialise generally in weight loss for people who've tried and failed to lose weight in the past. However, my roots are in bodybuilding, and I used to be a competitive bodybuilder. I've competed for about 10 to 15 years. I've won some trophies, been featured in magazines, and I was always also involved in a documentary called Prep the Series, which was about 5 years ago, which is still available, I think, on Vimeo. Nowadays, though, I'm not a competitive bodybuilder, as you can probably see, but I've used my knowledge and experience in the sport to coach other people in effective weight loss or muscle gain strategies. So the purpose of today's talk is to reduce the clutter that exists around training and eating for building muscle to save you time and money. Now, the reason for this talk is that there are a lot of Instagram heroes who are intent on selling you their diet plans or on selling you their muscle gaining plans. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that I've done with people and the things that how I work with people to make it a little bit easier to gain muscle. Now, the reason for this looks a bit sort of like cliche, but over the 10, 15 years I've been working with clients, I've heard thousands of reasons why people can't lose weight or gain muscle. And obviously we're talking about gaining muscle predominantly today. All those reasons, there's three core problems behind it. You have a confusion, a prison, and a frustration. The confusion is the confusion about nutrition or training. Hundreds of different diet strategies, hundreds of different training options. And lots of people trying to make money trying to sell you their option. Because of this confusion, people don't know what they're doing, so they generally sign up or try and do these programs which are sometimes regimented and poorly built. They have a restrictive and inflexible nutrition plan. And initially that sort of stuff works because it's new and it gives you a different idea about what you're doing, but then it plateaus because there's no adjustment. So you get this closed box thinking of this is the way to do things, and most people just stay in that. You've seen people. I own a gym, so I've seen people come in and do the same thing every single day, never get any bigger, never get any better, despite me giving them some advice, and they still don't improve. Because of this, you get frustration because you've not got the results you want. You get frustrated, then boredom kicks in. You don't stop going to the gym as much, or the motivation dwindles for your workouts, and you just go to the gym, you do the thing, and then you come home. You don't really have an effort for it, and you get bad habits kicking in. So you go to the pub over the gym, that sort of thing. And this is where a lot of my clients come to me, and this is where we start working with giving them new things to do and keeping them interested in their training. You've also got this quick fix temptation, so it's more with weight loss plans really, where it's like lose 20 pounds in 10 days, that sort of thing. But you've also got the 6-minute abs, that sort of rubbish. So the question you've got to ask is going to the gym your job? Now, thankfully there's no pro bodybuilders in the audience just now, but unless you're a paid athlete and you have to go to the gym to maintain your physique because that's how you earn your money, most of my clients go to the gym to do something after their working day, to keep themselves fitter, to gain a bit of muscle so they look better on the beach, they look better when they're going on holiday or when they're going out on a Saturday night. So for these people with these commitments of family, social life and such like, trying to say you have to optimise your nutrition with a specific strategy is sometimes difficult, because if you've got a late meeting you need to go to, or it's your kid's birthday, or you've got whatever else to do, you probably can't have your salmon and avocado meal at 9 p.m. or whatever. So you need a flexible approach to nutrition. And that's the same with training, because again, social life, family life, working life comes into play, and you sometimes can't get to the gym in time. So what I found working with people, and this is everyday people, not the athletes that I used to work with, they need more flexibility in their plan. So the purpose of today is to give you ideas about how to be more flexible in your plan and not to be so rigid. And a bit of personal history, I used to be the chicken and rice guy. If I went to the cinema, I'd have chicken and rice for me if I was dieting. I wouldn't eat popcorn because that's going to stimulate fat storage or something like that. You know, I would not go to certain events because I was having a meal at 10 o'clock or something like that. So I've been in proper bro land, and this is hopefully to stop any of you going to proper bro land, which it makes you an absolute idiot to be around. So what's the best training strategies for muscle growth? Loads of different ones on the market. They all have relevance. They all can help you gain muscle because they're all new when you first start them. But which one is the best? So what does the research say about the best way to gain muscle? In all the studies, and let's think about the studies that are done on actual people with hypertrophy, as in resistance training. We're not talking about cycling to failure. That's not generally what people we're talking about here. So studies have shown you can train a body part twice a week, and that's the best way to maximize muscle growth. So you train chest on a Monday, maybe train chest on a Thursday, and you get a double stimulus of muscle protein synthesis, which is the on switch for gaining muscle. Heavy or sub-maximal weights work. You can do both. You can train really heavy, you can train sub-maximal. 3 to 6 sets per exercise seems to be the sort of magic point in terms of gaining muscle, and 5 to 20 reps per set. The overlying element to all this is you have to train to failure. It's no good doing 3 to 4 reps if you've got 6 in you, because you're not sending a signal to the body saying, I need to do better at what I'm doing. All you're doing is just doing what you've done over and over again. So that's okay for muscle maintenance, say if you're dieting for a show or something, but if you're looking to grow, you have to train to failure. So any workout that takes you to failure will stimulate muscle growth. But realistic application, how many of these really good training systems can you actually do? Because if you can't get your 4th day in, if you've got a 4-day plan and you can't get your 4th day in because you've got work for 3 or 4 days, you then get this boredom or this frustration that you can't finish your workout, and it sends into a loop where you're annoyed that you're working out, and then maybe the next week you do 5 or 6 days and then you're overtrained. So what I focus on with my clients is how to make training more interesting, educating them on, look, if you can't do 5 days a week, what else can we do? So a few variables, there are others, but these are the ones I use with clients. I mix up training days for body parts, so we don't have International Chest Day, we have back on Mondays, legs on Mondays, etc. We vary up the training days for body parts so that the body doesn't adapt to, on Monday, I know I'm going to train chest, so I'll file all the things that I need to train chest that day. We vary body parts trained together, so quite regularly I'll put things like shoulders and quads together, which sounds really weird, but actually it does work. Cycle the number of days a week you train, so 3, 4, 5 days a week, as long as you're training to failure, there's merit. And a nice one is time limits on sessions, because who takes Instagram when they're training? Come on, hands up. No, and lies. No one here takes a shot of Instagram when they're in the gym. Lies. I do, and that's what happens is time limits. If we set time limits, people can't take the Instagram thing. They can't go, oh, I'm training in the gym. So we put time limits on to increase the intensity, make sure they're doing things right. And then we have rep targets for exercises. So this isn't the CrossFit thing. This is, I'll come on to it in a minute. I've got a specific training system for rep targets. And it all gives these nice little things you can do to make the training a bit more interesting. So this is one of the examples I do with my clients. It's called the 300 workout. It's not Sparta. This is the 300 workout for weights. So the rules, you do 3 exercises, 100 reps per exercise, and before you say, oh, that's okay, I'll just do 100 reps of 10 kilos, you have 15 reps max per set. Every time you get 15 reps, you have to go up in weight. If you get below 10 reps, you stick, because you're at your maximum there. Now, the idea for this is to give you a different thinking about your workout, because most people will do 3 to 4 sets per exercise. And that's what they'll come in, 3 to 4 sets of chest, 3 to 4 sets of flies, some arms, and then they go home. Instagram while they're on the way out. So what does this do? It satisfies, remember what we talked about with the elements for muscle growth just now? Training to failure, yeah, you're going to get that, because if you're doing 7 sets, which you have to do because it's 15 reps per set, and you're increasing the weight each time, you're going to get to failure at some point in that. So you have to then train to failure, maybe 2 or 3 sets to failure, so it's quite tough. Volume overload, 100 reps, that's a lot of volume. 7 sets. 5 to 20 reps per set satisfies that variable, because we're 15 or 10, whatever happens. It's different to normal, so it's interesting. It's something you can go in and go, right, it's very simple, I just do 3 exercises, 100 reps, and I'm off. So your focus is just on your training, not on what you're training next. And you can train multiple single body parts, so you can say do a day on back, or you can do chest, back and shoulders, or chest, quads, and whatever. So you can vary it all, you can vary it up along the way. The only thing missing from this formula is there's no twice a week training, unless of course you do back and then back 3 or 4 days later. Now people always ask me, what's the best workout to do? How can I construct the perfect workout? And I've been bodybuilding for 22 years, so it's a long time. And I've done loads of different things. I've done GBT, I've done PPL, I've done all those different things. Over that time, and with the research that I've looked into, which I discussed earlier, I've sort of come up with a magic formula. Now I'm not saying this is the best way to train, but I've used this formula with my clients, and I would say 99% of them get results from this formula. Women, men, assisted, non-assisted, they all get results from the formula. And the formula is, you have a warm-up, so like, let's say we're doing like legs or something, we do extensions, and then we have a heavy compound, which is squats. We have another volume sub-max exercise, maybe leg press or something like that, and then you have a finisher at the end. And then you do a second body part, and I'll come into the reasons why we do that in a minute, and then we have a smaller body part at the end. So essentially training 3 body parts, you have a major and then 2 minors. I'll tell you why this is good in a minute. So, this satisfies training to failure, because if you look at the volume there, especially on the heavy compound, 5 to 10, the reason it's 5 because you get to the last set, you train for 5 reps, so it's like squats 5 reps, bench press 5 reps. The volume overload, I think we can agree that's sufficient volume in there. At least 3 sets per exercise, yeah, that's satisfied. 5 to 20 reps per set, so all of them are between 5 and 20 reps. It allows 2 major body parts per session, so you can get the twice a week training in. Now about the 5-day week, twice a week training split, when I say to people, oh, you need to train a body part twice a week to stimulate maximum muscle growth, they go, oh, what do I mean I have to do legs one day and then like another massive leg session? No, remember about training to failure. All you have to do to stimulate muscle growth is train a muscle to failure. So if you do one exercise, 5 sets, and they're to failure, the last 2 sets are to failure, you've stimulated training to failure, you've stimulated that muscle growth. So, although I'm not saying do a workout where you have like 1 exercise to failure for say like 20 reps, because that probably wouldn't be beneficial long term, but you can do a big volume session and then have a second body part to failure at the end, and you've given that extra stimulus to failure in that workout of that body part. So how does this affect the workout? Some examples. So there's a leg session example. So you can see that the quads here is the major body part trained, and then we've got Romanian deadlifts there and calves there at the end. So you've stimulated quads to a high degree with volume and everything else. Then you've got a heavy set to failure Romanians, and you've done calves at the end. Now the reason I put in the extremity, so calves, biceps, triceps, I put those in at the end because they're small muscle groups. So doing like an arm day, I used to do arm days when I was bodybuilding, and it probably wasn't that beneficial to do a whole day, like I'll work out on arms. I find if I do extremities a couple of times a week, I get more benefit from doing that. So that's one example of legs. What about chest and back? Chest and back is something people train a lot together. And if you want copies of the slides, just email me at the end and I'll send you a copy of the slides. So here we have a chest workout, cable crossovers, normal bench press, machine press, and then we've got barbell rows at the end. So we're still doing the volume, and then we've got the failure as well. And I was talking about before, shoulders and quads, which actually is quite an effective workout. So we do shoulders at the beginning, and then we just chuck in a few sets of leg press at the end. Now mentally, this is quite nice, because you go, I've done shoulders quite tired, and you go then to do leg press, it's actually you've got a load of energy in your legs, because if you use glycogen from here and you've rested your legs for the session, you've got a full amount of glycogen in your legs to train leg press. And you've only got 3 sets, so mentally, so well, I've done shoulders, I'll go in and smash some legs now. 3 sets, you're going to put everything into that, because it's only 3 sets. And you can, I'll do as much. So I've got actually a system built where someone does 20, 30 and 40 reps on leg press, increasing amounts all the time. And and if you want to download that video, so it's on my Instagram, so you can download that. And then biceps at the end. So all those things you're coming in fresh for. So what about you making your own workout cocktail? Now we talked about training to failure, so you've always got to be training to failure, that's really important. But what are you trying to accomplish with each exercise? Because I see some people saying they do these exercises on the internet. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do like 30 reps on barbell squats, or I'm going to do, I don't know, 60 reps on deadlift, or 20 reps on deadlift. If you ever try to do anything more than 10 reps on a deadlift, it's not your back that goes, it's your lower back. So after you've done 10, 12 reps of a decent amount of deadlifting weight, your lower back is going, but your actual back muscles, the major part of the muscles, like the lats, they are actually, they can still do more. So think about what you're trying to achieve, and does the exercise lend to that goal? So if you're doing a big heavy lift, incorporate exercises that are deadlift, squat, bench press, military press overhead, big compound exercises which will increase your strength. I wouldn't do things like overhead press for like 30, 40 reps. That's probably not a good idea. And you're probably going to get the smaller muscles fatiguing before you get to the larger muscles. But you can get a good heavy compound lift and send that signal to the CNS about that you really want to lift heavy, so it sends those adaptions out. And machines are great for volume reps. So leg press, if you're going to do like 20, 30 reps on a set, leg press is perfect for that. A machine chest press, perfect. Pec deck fly, that sort of thing. Machine rows, they're perfect for volume, where you don't have to think about stabilizing yourself. You just get on and push and pull or whatever. So think about what you're doing, and does the exercise lend to that? Okay, so now we've got an idea about our training. What about our mental state when we go to the gym? So and I've seen it because obviously I own a gym, you might not know that, but I do own a gym in Bristol. And the amount of people I see coming in, and we've actually stopped it now because I got annoyed with people doing it, but they came in with their civvies on, which they were using for training. So people with paint-stained t-shirts and baggies and everything else on, but they've been to work in and they come straight to the gym. Now the problem with that is, although it saves time for them, they're still in work mode. And it's the same as if you go to, if you're at home with your family and you've got like a shorts and t-shirt on, and you go straight to the gym, you haven't said to your body, to your mind, that I'm now going to the gym. You're still in your environment where you've been doing that thing before. So you can't really 100% focus on your gym session. Now the importance of being Batman is, if you think about Bruce Wayne doesn't fight crime. Bruce Wayne is the guy, the billionaire, who finances Batman and does all the business stuff. But Bruce Wayne doesn't fight the Joker while he's robbing a bank. You know, if Bruce Wayne turned up when the Joker was walking out with a gun, the Joker would laugh at him, and Bruce Wayne's not prepared for that fight. Dons the Batman uniform, and he's ready to kick some ass. And that's what you've got to think about. Am I going to kick some ass in the gym, or am I still in my work mode, and I'm just doing a process? Am I just going to the gym for a process? So it's a signal, it's a change of state. I own a gym, I wear baggies and a t-shirt most of the day when I'm training clients. Even when I'm at the gym, I've got a separate pair of baggies and t-shirt that I change into. So I wear the stuff for work. When I train, I'm still in the gym, I'll put my new clothes on, because that's a signal to me that I've finished work for the day, and now I'm going to train. Important mental signalling, and it helps you focus on what you're doing. And obviously at the end, you take your workout clothes off, and you go back to your normal stuff because you've left that life. Okay, so there's some stuff on training. My main area is nutrition, and I'm a performance nutritionist, so that's where I work. So we're not probably going to get everything done in nutrition today, but I can give you some overviews of how I work with clients. Now what I've found is that people focus too much on the small things about nutrition. And you certainly see on the internet, people focusing on, say, oh, is 20 grams of rice or 30 grams of rice the best thing to have in a meal? While ignoring the fact that they aren't eating their protein. So there's some key nutrition points that I'd like to go over now. So what I've noticed with working with clients over the years, People do not eat enough protein to gain muscle. Now, obviously I'm not talking about the people who are seriously into their gym. Mainstream people do not eat enough protein to gain muscle, or they eat a load of protein bars, or protein puddings, or protein coffee, crisps, all those sorts of things. I don't believe that's an adequate source of protein, even though it might be whey or whatever. It's processed right down. I don't believe it's a good thing for gaining muscle, not as a long-term solution anyway. Then they eat too much carbs and fat and get too fat. They place too much importance on the peri-workout. What peri-workout is the stuff around the workout, so pre, intra, post-workout. People get so hung up on that, and it's so ridiculous, some of the things I've seen people do. And then there's the overcomplication with supplements. So this is like the sort of the confusion, the closed box thinking I was talking about earlier. So as a rule, what should you eat? So when you're looking to gain muscle, you should be thinking about 2 to 3 grams per kilo of protein a day. Now, I don't go into sort of lean body mass, that sort of thing, because that's a bit of a ball ache to calculate. So I just go like, how heavy are you? And times this by 2 to 3 grams. Obviously, if someone's severely obese, there's certain factors to regulate there. But most of the people I work with either have a little bit of weight to lose or around about average. So 2 to 3 grams per kilo of body weight. Now, if there's any evidence-based people here, because I'm an evidence-based practitioner, they'll go, Tom, the studies say that you should only eat 2.5 grams of protein per kilo, so doing any more isn't beneficial. Okay, yeah, the studies do say that if you want between 1.8 and 2.5 grams of protein, but here's another thing to consider. Protein is not just about building muscle. Protein is about enzymes in the body, the immune system, manufacture of peptides like insulin and growth hormone and stuff like that. There's other things that protein does other than building muscle. So yes, while we're talking about what's the amount for building muscle is 1.8 to 2.5, you've got to think about having an efficient body to process all that food and do all those actions. And when I've been on lectures where people talk about protein, I've discussed with the researchers about this. And I would say there's a good argument to say that if you go to about 3 grams per kilo, you're making your body a more efficient machine in terms of having the enzymes, the peptides and everything else in order to maximize your muscle growth. Yeah, you're not going to build more muscle with anything over than 2.5 grams per kilo, but you might make your body a bit more efficient at building muscle. And certainly, when I was bodybuilding, all my friends who were bodybuilders, when we spoke to Luke Sando on the podcast, all these people, they take more than 2.5 grams per kilo. And you can't argue with those statistics. Steroids aside, bodybuilders who build a serious amount of muscle eat a serious amount of protein. So if you want to be building muscle, 2 to 3 grams per kilo of protein is what you need. Fueling workouts, so with carbs, we look at 3 to 4 grams per kilo. Now this will vary from person to person, and obviously if you've got a very active job, you're going to need a bit more carbs because you're active in your daily life. But most people have office jobs, desk jobs. They're sedentary for most of the time. I've only worked in my sort of last 3 or 4 years of working with clients, 1 or 2 people who are so active they needed things like 4 to 8 grams per kilo of carbs. Most people don't need that. And then I also keep fats to a minimum. Now the reason I keep fats at 0.5 to 0.8 is because if you're looking to build muscle, you're probably going to be in a calorie surplus. Protein, it's almost impossible to turn to fat. Carbs can turn to fat by de novo lipogenesis. Fats, really easy to turn to fats. So if you're in a calorie surplus, you really don't want to be giving the body more of the really easy fuel to turn to body fat. Now I'm not saying go zero fat because that's not going to be good for your hormones, but keep fats to a minimum. So that's all fine to look at that. How does this translate into a macro split? This is a sample plan for one of my programs that I run, and this is for muscle gaining. So this is the average 100 kilo male. So this is a 100 kilo male, has a sedentary type job, trains 3 or 4 days a week, family life, that sort of thing. 4 meals a day and a few snacks. So that's probably a good average of people that are in the world today for training. So you notice that the proteins at 3 grams per kilo, carbohydrates between 3 to 4, and the fats 0.6. This is generally a good way to split things down, and obviously if your activity level differs, this will change. But this is how I apply it to meals. And you notice that these meals are quite big, like 712 calories. It's totally fine to split those into 6 meals as well if you want to. So some people have big dinners and have little snacks through the day. But that's the way, potentially, you would put it through for a gaining calorie diet. Okay, but should you be looking to gain all the time? Now, if you've ever done a calorie fest, where you're trying to eat as much as you can to gain muscle, you'll know that after a little while, you get bored of eating, and eating becomes a chore, and you can't face that next chicken and rice. So what should you do? You need to have a gain break. So who's heard of diet breaks, where you diet for a little bit, and it's like, oh, I can't do that diet anymore, Nando's, right, I'm back on the diet now. You have a gain break. So eating surplus for a long period of time, and I won't go into things like insulin resistance and stuff like that, because that's another lecture, but if you eat for too long, your body becomes more efficient at gaining fat and less efficient at making glycogen, and it's to do with glycogen storage in the muscles. So if you're too long in a surplus, you're going to get fat. So we don't want that, obviously. We want to grow muscle all the time. So what we do is, again, we're scheduling gain breaks, which is a low-calorie period, still with high protein and decent amount of fats, but we control the calories down so that we can lose a bit of fat. And this looks like this. So same slide before. The only variable here is the carbohydrate. So what I've done is reduce down the carbohydrate so that the person's still got enough protein to build muscle, so there's no problem with building muscle there. The fats are still at a good level to keep hormones and everything else active, but we've reduced the carbohydrates. Now, why do we reduce the carbohydrates and not the other stuff? Obviously we want to keep muscle, so we keep protein high. We don't want to reduce fats down too low, that's going to be bad for your hormones. So carbohydrates is the easy option here. Now, when you have lower carbohydrates, you have lower glycogen availability. And what that means is that your workouts, okay, maybe they're not as good, but your body becomes more efficient at using other fuels such as fat. Also, low glycogen availability affects the enzymes in your muscles that produce glycogen. So when you have low glycogen availability, you actually produce more of those enzymes, which is logical because your body wants to restore glycogen to the full amount. If you've always got high glycogen, you'll produce less of those enzymes, which makes you more insulin resistant. So having these periods where you drop your carbs, the workouts maybe take a little bit of a hit, but you become more efficient as a machine, I suppose. You can actually improve your insulin resistance. And what this does, it resets your appetite. Because if you've ever been on a diet for, say, 2 or 3 weeks, you know, the first 2 weeks were okay, and then the third week's like, I need to have something, a cheat meal, let's go and have a cheat meal. After about 2 weeks, you've dropped a little bit of fat, your appetite goes up, and then you can go straight back to the gaining diet. So it's really important to have a gain break, not when you're trying to gain a load of muscle. It just resets your mind and gets you more refocused on your mission. And conversely, when I'm dieting with people, we do diets, then we have diet breaks, so we have periods of 1 or 2 weeks where we have more calories. Okay, so what about dieting without hardship? So although we're talking about muscle gain today, what about if you wanted to keep muscle or maintain muscle while you're doing a diet? So in January this year, I got a bit annoyed with people going on about, oh, you can't eat what you want on a diet, you have to eat certain foods on a diet to get ripped. So I thought, well, I'm going to do a diet, well, all I'm going to eat is food I like curries and chili and stuff like that, and I'll show them. So I started this diet in January, and I had a photo shoot lined up at the end of January. So this is like a proper bro diet that I used to do when I was bodybuilding. You know, food didn't matter, get the calories in. So I used to have oats away in the morning, 3 lots of chicken and rice with a bit of olive oil on, and a 4-egg omelette in the evening. Satisfies all the requirements. 2 grams per kilo protein, 3 grams per kilo carbs, because I prefer carbs higher than protein, and then fats were really low. Bland, boring, gonna get tired of it really quickly. But I hit my calories, and my calories worked out about 3,200, so that was a serious drop, about 700 calories a day drop, so it would have elicited some serious fat loss quite straight away. But can you do this, still enjoy your food and still gain muscle? Yes, of course you can. So what about we change it? So this is the diet I actually did. So in the morning, I'd have 4 eggs and a bagel. I'd have a beef chili and rice for lunch, some oats and whey, and then a chicken tikka and rice. and then I saved up some calories to have a halo top, a whole tub of halo top in the evening. It's glorious. And I tried every flavour. I had 3 bananas through the day and then 200 grams of raspberries because I like raspberries. Now if you notice, if you look at the calories there, so look at this figure here, actually less, but I'm eating food I like. So if you're eating food you like, how likely are you to stay on that diet? More than likely? Less than likely? Certainly when I was eating chicken and rice every day, I didn't really like the diet. So which one would you prefer? Now bear in mind that the protein, carbs and fats are all pretty much matched here. So we're not talking a sacrifice in terms of macros. Personally, I prefer the other diet. And this is the results I had in 3 weeks. Now there was a comment about the amount of hair I lost for the photo, and people were like, oh, you lost 5 kilos in hair. I actually did weigh the hair I shaved off, and it was less than 500 grams. So it's definitely fat that I lost, and not just hair weight. So I did this diet for 3 weeks. I actually had the photo shoots at the end of the 4th week. I maintained muscle, lost some fat, and I felt fine. I didn't have no cravings, which was really nice. Full disclosure, I'm not a unassisted athlete, so I did have a little bit of Anavar there. So I just want to say that because people go, oh, you know, gear and everything else. Yeah, I did use a little bit of Anavar, but I changed. The diet was the difference that I did. I didn't change any of the drugs I used. Oh, 50 mg of Anavar if anybody's interested. I'm not saying do drugs when you diet. I'm just saying I did it just to be full disclosure so everybody knows I did it. Okay, so what about peri-workout, the magic around the workout window? So we've got intra-workout carbs, post-workout shakes, insulin, all these other things. So here's an overview. So I haven't really got time to go into it because it's only a 45-minute lecture, but I just did a lecture just now on insulin and stuff like that, so you can ask me for the slides on that if you want to email me at the end. So intra-workout carbs may help for long sessions. So if you're having your intra-workout, you know, cyclic dextrin or Vitago, it may help a session if it's longer than 90 minutes. The research shows that there's no benefit to having, if you've got full glycogen stores, having an intra-workout carb drink. You might feel it's working, but it actually doesn't do any more benefit. Post-workout shakes, they're not needed because you can have a meal of protein and carbs, but it's convenient. I do have a protein shake post-workout, but sometimes I have a meal. When I was doing that diet, the one I showed you just now, I was having I think a chicken tikka or a beef chili post-workout because my calories were restricted, so I preferred to have a meal that I actually ate. You don't need to replenish glycogen post-workout, it's not necessary because over the course of 24 hours you'll replenish it anyway. Creatine, definitely, but taken post-workout with carbs will increase the uptake. Take your creatine with carbohydrate, it'll enhance how much you absorb. And then pre-workout carbs, if your glycogen is low pre-workout, so if you're on a diet, generally you're going to have a glycogen state that's low before you go into the workout. Pre-workout carbs, say like 30 grams, can actually give you a psychological boost. There's proven to that. That's the research showing they gave these people a drink of Lucozade and then they spat it out and they perform better in the workout. But there's no extra carbs, they're just mentally signaling from having the drink gave them a better workout. So that's weird, isn't it? And then insulin, I just done a talk on insulin just now, so I'm not going to go into that, but no benefit. So don't bother, if you do use insulin, don't bother doing it around workout. Ooh. Yeah. So what should we put in our post-workout shake? Definitely some whey, or vegan type protein if you want. Definitely some creatine. Now the reason the carbs is in there as a maybe is because you can actually replenish protein. You don't actually need the carbs to help speed up the protein. And the little study here is it just shows a protein drink and a protein and carb drink. And actually the carbs, well the insulin from the carbs, suppressed how fast the protein released into the system. So if you want a maximum absorption and maximum speed of your protein shake, don't have it with carbs. So potentially another application is to have a protein shake directly after your workout and then leave it sort of 10-15 minutes and then have the carbohydrate shake with the creatine. But to be honest, do you want to overcomplicate things? I just chuck it all into a shake and drink it. And think about the big things that matter. The little things like these sort of timings probably don't matter. Right, So the other thing about people that have to have a lot of carbs post-workout, so there are protocols on the internet which I've seen about people like 3 or 4 bagels and jam and a ton of Rice Krispies with a Lucozade or whatever else post-workout to replenish glycogen faster. You actually don't need to do that to replenish glycogen. This study here, excuse me, they had a glycogen depleted state, and then they gave them over 24 hours 10 grams per kilo. So that's, if you think about carbohydrate loading for bodybuilding, that's 1,000 grams of carbs for a 100 gram person. That's a lot of carbs. Within 24 hours, the muscle was replenished with glycogen. Now you think that over in terms of the 72 hours, where it was fully restored, because there's only a small difference between 24 and 72 hours. Who here does a leg workout and then the next day goes back and does a leg workout? Thankfully no one, because you just don't do that. You don't train hard on legs and then go and do legs the next day. You would normally come back about 3 or 4 days later and do it. So in 72 hours, the food from your diet is going to replenish the glycogen in your muscles. Now bear in mind, if you have glycogen in your legs and you train and you deplete it, you don't deplete glycogen from anywhere else. So you can have a really smashing leg session and then go and do some shoulders, hence my workouts familiar. Because the glycogen stays in the muscle, once it's in the muscle, it can't go anywhere. The enzyme doesn't exist in the muscle to take glycogen out and put it into the blood to go somewhere else. It does in the liver, but not in the muscle. So once the carbs are in there, once the glycogen is in there, regardless, okay, walking around you'll burn a little bit, but it's going to be full. So there's no reason to rapidly recover glycogen post-workout, and actually that can lead to a bit more insulin resistance down the line. Okay, so coming to the end, I think, yeah, we're good time, excellent. So what supplements do you actually need? Whey or a vegan option of a protein shake? Absolutely. No, I suppose you don't need it because you can have chicken or whatever vegan protein, but I would say it's convenient to have a whey protein shake. And there's definitely evidence to support having whey into your supplement regime. Creatine, absolutely. I don't think there's anybody who can argue that creatine is not beneficial. Studies, all the thousands of studies that have been done on it, either beneficial or no change, nothing harmful. And in terms of like kidneys and stuff, that's only if you've got kidney disease. There's no issue with having creatine in kidneys. Fish oils is one of my go-tos. So many benefits with it, heart health, body composition, all that sort of thing. Definitely worth having fish oils. If you're looking for a value, you want about 200 milligram of EPA, which is the active ingredient. That's what you want in your diet. So that's important, because if you say like buy maybe a Holland & Barrett one, or another supplement thing which is cheap, it might not have enough EPA in. There might be a substandard fish oil, so make sure you're getting 200 milligram a day. Vitamin D, we live in the UK, which sunlight is not something we've got an abundance of. To get vitamin D, the adequate amount from the sun, you have to stand in the sun for a certain amount of time when the sun's at a certain zenith and it's a certain amount of sun exposure. Who's got time to do that in their day? I certainly haven't, and I'm my own boss. So I just have a vitamin D capsule, 5,000 IU every day. The actual, I think the research amount is like 4,000 IU, but most tablets are 5,000, just have one of those. It's very hard to overdose on vitamin D3. And then caffeine, OBS, absolutely the best thing pre-workout. So anyone who argues with caffeine, come on, let's have it. Honourable mentions, ZMA. Zero research to support ZMA use, but I know it works for me. Now, I don't want to be one of those guys who go, oh, I know it works for me, so it's the best thing in the world. When I use ZMA before I go to bed, I sleep better, I feel better, I have better dreams. But there's no research to back it, so it can't go on my list of these are the things you have to go, because I'm an evidence-based practitioner. Turmeric, some decent evidence to support that, but not conclusive. Turmeric on its own can help with IBS and digestion. If you want a turmeric for anti-inflammatory, you need to have the Bodypower version. And I can't remember what the actual product is called, but it's you have Bodypower or black pepper along with turmeric, and it helps with anti-inflammatory action. Some good, decent research to support that, but not conclusive just yet. Krill oil doesn't go on my main list because it's more expensive than like fish oil, but krill oil, there's really good research to show that it can reduce LDL cholesterol. I had a client who had a serious genetic deficiency where he just overproduced LDL cholesterol. And he was using trends, that wasn't good. So we then gave him some krill oil, about 1.5 grams per day, and it dropped significantly, the LDL cholesterol did, for his doctor to ask him what he'd been doing, or had he stopped using the trend. No, he hadn't stopped using the trend because he was getting ready for a competition, but the krill oil was the only thing we changed that brought down his LDL cholesterol really well. So that's something to really consider, especially if you're using steroids or anything else. And carnitine. Carnitine is actually a supplement which for years was thought of, oh, it's not one of those fat burners that doesn't work. But actually there's new research, but the carnitine value you want is carnitine L-tartrate. That's the one that's been researched. And in studies, I don't know if I've got a slide for that. No, so in studies they had people given 80 grams of carbs plus a gram of carnitine twice a day, and they actually perform better in their workouts, and they use fat for fuel better. And interestingly, even though with 160 grams of extra sugars in the day, they didn't gain any fat. Body composition was the same. That's weird, isn't it? Well, you know, you would think if you add 160 grams of sugar in your day, potentially you're going to gain fat, but no, maybe it was the output that was higher. So our carnitine L-tartrate is probably worth adding. So summary of points, I think this is the last slide. I think Steve's hanging around ready to, yeah. Still got plenty of time? Oh, danger, mate. We'll keep going, yeah. Cool, so summary of points, always train to failure. Introduce some chaos periodically, like Joker. You know, if you find that you're going into the gym going, oh, it's chest day again, have a think about how you can change your workouts. Maybe use the 300 workout. And by the way, if you're on Instagram, if you go to my Instagram, I've got loads of workout videos on there. You can just, like, they're a minute long, you can save them to your phone. Make sure you like them and share. Don't overthink your nutrition. So try and keep things consistent and easy to think about. If there's meals you like eating, don't stop them if you're trying to gain weight. Don't just because some guy on the internet goes, oh, I eat 500 grams of chicken and 200 grams of rice a day, doesn't mean you have to. You can add your own foods in, and make sure it's foods that you like eating, so mentally you're engaged. Make sure there's different colours. So if you have chicken and white rice, what colour is that? It's white, it's awful. You look at, I don't want that. If you have chicken with a bit of Cajun spice on it, rice, pilau rice seasoning, which is no calories, put that on, and then maybe a bit of side salad of green stuff, well, that's a much more appetizing meal to have. And I would say, definitely going to eat that faster than you are the other meal. One case in point, when I was dieting for the British one year, my post-workout meal was white fish and rice. That's great, isn't it? White fish, white rice. I did that for about 2 days, and then I started feeling sick at the thought of having it. I got a teaspoon of tikka masala sauce, put that on, and it was gone in 2 seconds. Tikka masala sauce, it's only a teaspoon mixed in to make the flavour. It's about, 2 calories? But the effect on how I perceived that to be for a diet was absolutely massive. So you can add things like sauces, even you can get these low-calorie sauces now, which are like 0 calories. You can add those to your sauce as well. So make sure you make things interesting. And then supplements only enhance a good base, so they're not a crutch for you. You have to have a good base, and it enhances the supplement. It's like the cherry on top of the tree, that sort of thing. And the same with like gear, anabolic steroids, if you use that sort of thing. They won't support if your diet's bad, if your training's rubbish. And then no supplement, that's not an NO supplement, that's no supplement will deliver so many kilos of muscle. You see that on a supplement? Bye, it doesn't do that. Only gear does that. And I'm not saying take gear, but only gear gives those sorts of results. So thanks for listening, and I'm glad actually people turned up to hear me talk today, which was good. The last talk I did, no one was there at the start, and then actually people come after, so that's quite nice, but people were here at the start, which was nice. If you want to see more of my stuff, I post a lot on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well, but I post stuff on Instagram, probably easier to see that. I've got a podcast called Prep the Series, which you can get from iTunes. There's a lot of swearing in that, so don't listen to it in front of the kids. And you can also see Prep the Series, which is a documentary I did. But if you want to see more of my current stuff, go on Instagram, Tom Blackman Nutrition. And I'm always willing to answer any questions. If you've got a question about nutrition or training, well, they're my subjects, so I like answering that. Lifestyle and problems with your partner, I'm not so good at that. If you want to email me, I'm always willing to answer questions on email. If it's a really specific question, that might take a long time, so we might have to have a talk on the phone. But I'm always willing to help people if they're legitimately going to listen to me and not just, oh, that's not the answer I wanted, so I won't do that. So, anybody any questions? Hopefully I can answer them. Have you got the mic? Yeah, cool. Give him a kick. Right? Okay, anybody any questions?
Can I ask you to
Cool.
expand a little bit on what you mentioned about post-workout carbohydrates to...
Sorry, I can't hear. Okay, so.
Can I ask you to elaborate a little bit on the point you made about the post-workout and about not needing the carbohydrates to raise the insulin to the benefits of the protein and
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame we haven't got the other thing loaded because we could put it on there. So without a diagram to tell you, when you train with weights, your muscles deplete your glycogen. When that happens, the doors on your muscle, there's an activation transporter called GLUT4. So whenever you have insulin goes into the body, activates GLUT4, which goes to the cell, and that's the door that opens, that pulls carbohydrates in. So insulin itself does not transport carbs into the muscle. So let's get that clear from the start. When the doors open, these GLUT4 receptors, carbs can come in. Now, insulin stimulates these receptors both on the muscle and on the fat. So that's where the insulin makes you fat thing comes from. Post-workout, because you've depleted your muscles of glycogen, those doors open anyway. It's a process called non-insulin mediated glucose uptake, or NIMGU. I analyse it to PINGU, the thing, but NIMGU. So you don't need post-workout insulin to actually open up the doors on the muscle to absorb carbohydrates. So there's this window, it's about 40 minutes, which may be where the anabolic window thing comes from, where you can absorb carbohydrates without the presence of insulin. And this is really useful, say, like diabetics or people with insulin resistance, say, like PCOS, that sort of thing. Weight training really helps that because it helps them absorb the carbohydrate. So you don't need you don't need insulin to shuttle that in post-workout. I did do a whole lecture on that, but without the slides, without the thing, it's hard to say. But there's no evidence that insulin does help that. And also what I touched on before was if you've got really full glycogen stores, that has no effect on your anabolic activity. It's just your fuel. So the only thing that affects anabolic activity is protein. So muscle protein synthesis is like a switch to turn on, and 30 grams of protein will do that. So you don't need insulin to help that, and actually having insulin presence with protein actually reduces the absorption of protein. So potentially there's a limiting factor there, although insulin does reduce muscle protein breakdown. But a carb snap between workouts is the best way to maximize that. So you don't need insulin post-work. You certainly don't need insulin injecting it, and certainly you don't need insulin from loaded dextrose. All it does is restore your glycogen faster, which is okay if you're going to train 4 hours later. That's probably something you need. So there may be a benefit there. But like I said with the glycogen replenishment slide, over 24 hours, you're probably going to be recovered anywhere. 72 for sure. So no, there's no reason to do it. Any other questions?
No further questions, guys? Are we sure?
Sorry?
I could probably talk
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I've just recently given up a job as a personal trainer when I become a post woman.
Yeah.
So I'm working like 10 miles a day, 5 days a week. I'm finding I'm very, very tired. And we're talking about carbs, and people with that very active jobs need more carbs. So I'm struggling going to the gym after walking 10 miles a day with a heavy load on me, obviously.
Okay.
So would you suggest upping my carbs on days that I'm working and lowering them
Yeah.
on days that I'm not?
So I actually have a couple of clients who are post-women and post-men. And yeah, you're absolutely right, because your steps through the day are going to be far in excess of what my steps are. Now, my steps are about 7,000 a day, because I generally sit in the gym doing nothing, working really hard in the gym all day. But a post-woman will do, say, 25,000 steps in a day, easy. Now, there is a formula to work out, if you put your weight and your steps and everything else in, to work out how many calories potentially that is. But that's a long process. So yeah, I would say you should increase your carbs for that thing. And what I would do is I'd probably have little carb snacks through the day to maximise that. definitely. But if you're trying to diet, there might be a little difference in terms of you need to make sure you have a calorie deficit. But having little bits of carbs through the day, and I'd probably go for stuff like low GI type carbs, so like oats, rice, that sort of thing, rather than say like bagels or whatever, because you're just looking to top up your energy use through the day. Or you could have, say, a big bolus of carbohydrate meal to fuel the day. So say like so one of my clients, before they go out for their post round, they will have I think about 60 grams of carbs, and that will fuel them for the day because it's quite a lot of calories. Because you're only walking, so it's not like you're running or lifting weights at the time, but it's a lot of energy.
Running?
You're actually running? Okay, maybe a bit more then. But yeah, I would go for sort of low to medium GI type carbohydrates, and also have them in presence of a protein meal and a little bit of fat, so it slows down the release. Because what you don't want to have is a load of hit of carbohydrates, which shoots your insulin up, and then potentially you've got, like I said, fat storage. And
Days off then, do I lower them again?
yeah, so in your days off where you're not as active, I would lower it down, and that way you should be able to maintain a decent energy level. Ideally though, you know what I said about carnitine? That's the ideal thing to have, because it will help you burn fats a bit faster or a bit better. So potentially with your activity, higher carnitine levels might help you because you're just active all the time. But yeah, 2 grams per day is normally carnitine is what we want. Any others?
Any final questions, guys? Okay, can we please put our hands together for Tom Blackman?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. That was awesome.